It was just another day at a local McDonald's, packed with first responders grabbing a quick meal. But when a familiar face, none other than Elon Musk, walked through the door, things took an unexpected turn. What happened next is something no one in that room saw coming. It was a small McDonald's, tucked away on a corner in a quiet town. The place was filled with its usual crowd of first responders, police officers, firefighters, and paramedics grabbing a quick bite between shifts. The lunch rush had settled, and the mood inside was light, with the usual clatter of trays and soft chatter. Everyone was relaxed, enjoying their food before heading back to work. Then, just after noon, the door opened with a soft chime. At first, no one paid much attention. People came and went all the time. But as the man who stepped in walked towards the counter, a few heads started to turn. He was tall, casually dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, but there was something about him that caught everyone's eye. It wasn't long before someone recognized him. "Wait, is that Elon Musk?" one of the EMTs whispered to his colleague. At first, his buddy didn't believe him, brushing it off with a laugh. "Here? No way." What would he be doing in a McDonald's in the middle of nowhere? But the more they looked, the more certain they became. That was definitely Elon Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX guy, the billionaire known for building electric cars and launching rockets into space. As hard it was to believe it, he was standing there ready to order his food like any ordinary person. As he approached the counter, the buzz in the restaurant grew louder. Some of the first responders exchanged glances, while others discreetly pulled out their phones to snap a photo. Yet despite the growing attention, Musk seemed completely unfazed. He stepped up to the counter, smiled at the cashier, and said, "I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, and a Coke." The cashier, still processing the fact that she was face-to-face with one of the world's most famous entrepreneurs, hesitated for a second before ringing up the order. "And, can I pay with Dogecoin?" Musk added with a grin, clearly having a bit of fun with the moment. The cashier blinked, unsure whether he was joking or serious, but she managed a nervous laugh and replied, "Sorry, we only take credit." Musk chuckled and handed over his card, paying for his meal like anyone else. He then stepped to the side, waiting for his order, while the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. And then, after what seemed to be hours of hesitation, someone finally gathered the courage to approach him. A firefighter, whose curiosity had clearly gotten the better of him, walked up to Musk, trying his best to sound casual. "So, what brings you to a McDonald's in the middle of nowhere?" he asked, with his voice betraying a mix of awe and disbelief. Musk looked up from his phone, smiled, and shrugged. "Well, I've been traveling a lot lately, and sometimes you just want something simple. Plus," he added with a playful grin, "McDonald's makes a pretty good burger." The firefighter grinned back, and just like that, the tension in the room eased. It was as if Elon Musk, for all his fame and wealth, was just another guy grabbing lunch on the go. As more people started to approach, the questions came naturally. Another firefighter, this one a bit bolder, asked, "So what's next? Another rocket to Mars or something?" Musk laughed lightly, clearly used to this kind of question. "Actually, yeah. We're working hard on making that happen. But today's all about burgers." The casual nature of his response surprised people. It was as if he had no problem shifting from discussing space travel to fast food in the same breath. He didn't put on airs or make the moment about himself. In fact, he seemed genuinely interested in talking to the people around him. A paramedic chimed in from a nearby table. His voice was tinged with admiration. "I've got to know, how do you manage it all? Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and now X. Do you ever sleep?" Musk chuckled again. I get that a lot. Yeah, I sleep. Not much, but enough. He paused, thinking for a moment before adding, I think if you're passionate about what you do, you find the energy. But honestly, I try to keep things simple when I can. Today, I'm just here for the burger. The way he said it, so matter-of-factly, made the crowd laugh. By now, the once quiet McDonald's had turned into an impromptu Q&A session with Musk, who didn't seem to mind one bit. The police officers, EMTs, and firefighters were no longer standing back. They were engaged, throwing questions at Musk like they were talking to an old friend. He answered each one with a calm, almost humble demeanor, making jokes and sharing bits of insight along the way. One of the officers, amused by how normal this encounter felt, asked, "You ever thought about opening a Tesla drive-thru? We'd save a ton on gas." Musk grinned. "Hey, you never know. We're always looking at new ideas. Electric fast food joints might be the next big thing." The whole restaurant erupted into laughter. It was surreal. One moment, these first responders had been sitting down to a routine lunch break, and the next, they were chatting with one of the world's most influential people like it was no big deal. But here is where it gets really interesting. As the laughter died down, the mood in the restaurant began to shift. The casual banter and light-hearted jokes had created a warm connection between Elon Musk and the group of first responders. But then, as if sensing the perfect moment, one of the firefighters asked a question that suddenly turned the conversation more serious. "Do you ever think about, how your work might impact people like us?" the firefighter asked, his tone soft but curious. "I mean, the stuff you're doing, rockets, electric cars, AI, how do you think that affects what we do out here on the ground?" The room quieted. It wasn't a typical fanboy question. This question carried an enormous weight. Why? Because these weren't just people fascinated by space travel or electric cars. They were first responders, people who saw life and death every day, who relied on technology to do their jobs, save lives, and protect others. The Tesla founder paused for a moment. You could see the gears turning in his mind as he considered the question. He glanced around the room, taking in the faces of the men and women in uniform who had gathered around him. They were no longer just curious onlookers. They were part of a conversation that went deeper than anyone had expected. He began slowly, his voice taking on a reflective tone, "I don't think I really thought about it in that way until now." There was a brief silence, the weight of his words settling over the room. "I mean, I've always been focused on the future, on building things that push us forward as a society, space travel, sustainable energy, AI. But seeing all of you here, it kind of hits me that the future isn't just about technology. It's about people. It's about making sure that what we build helps the people who are working the hardest to protect us." His gaze shifted, scanning the room once more. But this time, his eyes lingered on each person, almost as if he was really seeing them for the first time. "I've always believed that technology can improve lives," he continued. "But seeing you all here, it kind of reminded me that no matter how advanced things get, it's still people like you, who are on the front lines, keeping the rest of us safe." A firefighter, clearly moved by Musk's sincerity, nodded, with his voice shaky of emotion. "We just do our jobs, but sometimes you wonder if what you're doing really matters in the long run. I mean, we don't build rockets or change the world like you do." Elon Musk seemed to take this sentence to heart. He shook his head. His face was serious. "No, you're wrong about that. You're out there saving lives, putting yourselves in danger every day. What I do wouldn't matter at all if people like you weren't around to keep us safe. What you do is just as important, if not more." The words hit hard. You could see it on the faces of the first responders in the room. They were used to being thanked in passing, to receiving polite nods of gratitude. But this was different. Musk wasn't just thanking them. He was telling them that they were vital to the future he was building. Then, unexpectedly, Musk reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He stared at it for a moment, as if weighing a decision, before looking back up at the group. "You know, there's something I can do," he said. His voice was quieter now, but he looked more determined than ever. "I don't want this to just be another moment where I say thanks and move on. I want to do something that makes a difference." He got out of that same McDonald's, but he didn't simply get into his car and drove away. Instead, he began typing rapidly into his phone, and for a few moments, no one knew what was happening. The store was silent, with everyone watching him, waiting. Yes, Elon Musk walking into McDonald's full of responders was surprising, but it was only after he spent a few minutes talking with them that the most unexpected thing happened. "All right," he said, tucking the phone back into his pocket. "It's done. I just made a donation. Now you might think that this was nothing, but the fact is that this very donation was enough to cover brand new equipment for all the fire stations and police departments, not in the small town, but in the entire area. Whatever you need, consider it my way of saying thank you for everything you do," Musk said. The room was stunned. For a moment, no one spoke, as if they weren't quite sure how to process what had just happened. Then, slowly, the disbelief turned into a wave of emotion. Some of the first responders exchanged looks of shock, while others quietly wiped away tears. What Musk had just done wasn't just a grand gesture. It was a direct acknowledgement of their work, their sacrifices, and the risks they faced every day. Most importantly, because of him, these people could now go to their jobs and know they were going to make it back home to their loved ones. One of the paramedics, clearly overwhelmed, finally broke the silence. "You didn't have to do that," she said, her voice choked with emotion. Musk smiled, his tone soft but firm. "No, I didn't, but I wanted to. Because what you do matters, and if I can help, even in a small way, I want to." For a moment, the room was quiet again, but this time, it was filled with something more powerful than awe or curiosity. It was filled with a deep, shared understanding. A connection between the man who was building the future and the people who were fighting to keep the present safe. As the wave of emotions settled in, it became clear that this wasn't just another celebrity encounter. What had started as an unexpected lunch visit had turned into something far more meaningful. Musk had connected with these first responders on a personal level, showing that despite the world he operates in, of billion-dollar companies, rockets, and electric cars, he understood the importance of the work being done in that small McDonald's. One by one, the first responders approached Musk, not for selfies or autographs, but to shake his hand and offer their thanks, not just for the donation, but for the acknowledgement of their role in society. "Honestly," Musk said as he prepared to leave, "I came here for a burger, but I'm leaving with a lot more. You've given me a lot to think about." As he walked toward the door, the first responders watched him go, still processing what had just happened. In that brief moment, they weren't thinking about his billions or his fame. They were thinking about the fact that he had listened to them, understood them, and shown them that their work mattered, even to someone as far removed from their daily reality as Elon Musk. The group of first responders thanked him the only way they could, with a big round of applause. As the door closed behind him, one of the police officers turned to his colleagues and smiled, shaking his head in disbelief. "Well," he said with a chuckle, "that's not something you see every day." And with that, the room slowly returned to its usual hum of conversation, though the mood remained charged with the energy of what had just happened. It wasn't just the fact that Elon Musk had walked into their McDonald's. It was the fact that he'd left a lasting impact, one that provided these people with the strength and courage to continue doing what they do best: keep the people safe. What do you think about this amazing gesture? Has something like this ever happened to you or anyone you know? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.